Tech Table. Tech Table. Tech Table. Hello and welcome to the Tech Table, the Technical Staff and Theatre Workers podcast. It's the podcast in which I talk to people who work in the technical side of the industry about how they got in, their experiences and any advice they can give to anyone getting in. This is episode 1 of season 5. We're back with a whole new season, 10 great guests lined up. Looking forward to seeing what you think of the guests that we have. I've really enjoyed recording with them and I really hope that you enjoy listening to them. Some slightly different ones to what we're used to on the podcast, but it's still going to be a lot of fun. I'd like to take an opportunity to say a big thank you to the Guildford School of Acting, who are supporting me with the podcast now, especially my executive producers, Mig and G. Really looking forward to working with them further, and we're really pushing this further into where we would like it to go as a podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, via the social media, we have plenty of social media now. Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook is all Tech Table Pod. Just search for that. Give us a follow. If you want to get in touch via the socials or by the email, which is techtablepod@gmail.com. Also follow us on YouTube. I'm sure we'll be getting some videos up onto YouTube quite soon. I'm coming to you with my fancy new mic that has been donated by Stage Electrics for the podcast, so thank you so much for that. I can already tell that I'm sounding a lot clearer now, so thank you to Stage Electrics for that. This is, like I said, the first episode, and we've got a great guest lined up for you. So without further ado, let's see who is sitting at the tech table with me today. I'm with my guest at this time. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell me what your current job title is.
Hi, my name's Mig. I wear 3 different hats. I teach at the Guildford School of Acting. I am currently the co-chair of the Association of British Theatre Technicians. I'm also just a freelance lighting technician.
And you're an executive producer of this podcast.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You forget that one.
It's a new role.
How did you get into theatre?
Dram. My mum dragged me to an amateur dramatics group in a little town called Lyd. And there's a guy called Tyrone who I owe my entire career to. He was the director. Established that I hated being on stage and just chucked me behind a 2-fade manual lighting control disc. It took me a little while to realise that I wanted to do lighting. I did a lot of education in art, so I was like an artist. I did painting and sculpture and stuff,
right.
And then realised that in life drawing I quite liked where the light direction was, and then ended up back in the day when there was no like health and safety, I just contacted the Marlow in Canterbury,
right,
and said, can I come and give it a crack? And I remember going to the Marlow in Canterbury, bless them if they're out there, the guy that let me do that, and they just chucked me on the balcony focusing, and that, which I'm sure is probably not allowed anymore.
That was back in the days of where you're just leaning over the balcony, focusing lights. Yeah,
I look back at it and just go, but that's where I got the bug for it really. And then I looked at, because I had no experience at all. I didn't know a Parkham from a Fresnel, and so I went to university. I went to it wasn't Royal when I went there, but it was just Central School of Speech and Drama, and I did lighting design.
Oh, and they did a specific lighting design course then?
Yes, they did. So it was called theatre. It was a theatre practice course, but then you picked your specialism. I actually wanted to do the production electrics course, but I think I had such a big art background. I had like literally portfolios of art and stuff.
So
I was heavily pushed towards the
design side,
lighting design pathway.
Excellent. And so what was your first paid job in technical theatre? Would it have been hanging off the front of the circle? It would.
Do you know what? I ended up in my 3rd year. I went out for free and I did some rock and roll tours, and that was like a rite of passage. I was like the one that went up and put safeties on truss. There's double brake motors now, so you probably don't need to put safeties on truss anymore.
Yeah.
But I did that, and then that probably turned into paid work eventually. But yeah, and then I've done all sorts really. I came on the West End and did some tracks on the West End. I worked at White Light. in the accounts team.
Oh, lovely.
But that was like a desk job and I hated it. Sorry, White Light. Love you, White Light. Love you. But didn't vibe with the desk job.
And of course you worked in Wimbledon, which is where we first met.
Which is where we met, yeah.
Ago.
That, I would say, so I left White Light, still absolutely have a great relationship with them, but left that kind of desk corporate job to become the deputy chief electrician at Wimbledon, moved on to then become the chief. And that's when you would have come through my doctor with many a show.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Excellent. And as a woman in the industry, have you ever come across any issues? Have you ever seen any people being held back, anything like that?
Weirdly, I get asked this a lot, and it's weird because I'm vocalising it now, and I don't normally vocalise it. I've had a really good experience, I must say, and now I'm going to touch wood or something in case I don't have a good experience, but I've largely been surrounded by really fantastic boys that have been really supportive, and certainly throughout my career at Wimbledon, I had such a great team. I remember one specific unpleasant person that came through the dock door, and that wasn't nice, but the team around me made it quite unpleasant for that person.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I felt a camaraderie.
Made them realise that it wasn't okay.
But to be honest with you, Bram, I think I kind of feel like one of the lads. Does that make any... I actually sometimes feel quite uncomfortable in rooms full of girls because I've spent... because largely back in the day, 'cause I'm 44 now, I was sort of the only girl knocking about. But it's got much better now.
Well, do you find being a lecturer, do you find more girls coming through? Or is it still predominantly boys coming into technical side of theatre?
No, not at all. Yeah, no. There's lots of girls coming through now. In a way that wasn't the case when I was at university. I was definitely the only girl on the lighting course. But yeah, no, it's really, really good. It is still. I would say that statistically, it is still slightly male orientated. But it's getting better, much, much better. Good.
So what would you say are the pros and cons of working in theatre?
So interestingly, I've been talking a lot lately and discovering I'm a bit neurospicy. I've got like bipolar disorder, and they're investigating autism and ADHD at the moment. And I've always felt really safe backstage, particularly in a crew room. Yeah, because I think that there's all kinds of different flavours of human being. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a melting pot, certainly.
Yeah, and I think you can be whatever you want to be in a crew room. We're very accepting, aren't we? I think, as long as you do the work.
Yeah.
You push that flight case from there to there. You can be whatever you want to be.
Well, there's definitely banter, but there's never any malice or meaning behind it. It's just banter, and I understand that that's kind of a big buzz thing at the moment. But I mean, there genuinely is a love of people. I
have never felt safer than in a crew room. I still love the crew room. I've never hung up my spanners, because even though I teach and even though I sit as a co-chair, like any time I can get back in that crew room and in that environment, I want to be. So that's a big pro for me. I think it's quite an accepting place. I think that we take all different flavours of human being, especially in this world where we've got different dynamics and different heads and different mental health conditions. Yeah, I predominantly always felt very safe. So for me, also, production work is task orientated. So it's very simple, isn't it? You came through the dock door, we get your gig up. Yeah. Simple. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So tricky. And as I've orientated myself into the education space, where it's a little bit more corporate, same with like sitting in council meetings and being the co-chair of the ABTT or whatever, I find those kind of formal environments a little bit more tricky. I've started to really notice my brain is is different, and that does that make sense?
No, absolutely, yes, of course.
So, so that would say that's a big pro for me. I love what I do, and I recently just went back to Wimbledon to help. Now that's what I call a musical. They were a production LX down, so I just went, and just ran back in there to do it. Did you say con as well, didn't you?
Yes.
A con. So for me, I would say I'm 44 now, and I'm now diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which I obviously have clearly always had, but not medicated. So I think one of the big cons for me now is that I'm not sure I could go back to it full time because of the medication that I take.
Right.
And
okay.
the medication helps me to sleep, and the routine and structure is quite a big part of bipolar disorder.
Oh, I see. So from a health and safety point of view, you couldn't go back because
no, it's not. I
that.
can still work with the meds. It's not that kind of thing. It's just the meds have a sedative effect in them, so they help me sleep.
Right.
So I don't know if I could do get out.
Right.
Also, and I don't know, you've got kids as well now, haven't you?
Yes.
So I've got a 7-year-old girl. So I'd say something to do with the working hours and possibly the working conditions. Even though ironically I love it.
Yeah.
Like I love a get out. Do you know what I mean? But can I do a get out every Saturday night with a 7-year-old girl that gets up at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Well,
the same
that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it feels a little bit like a young person's game, and I think that as I've moved and I want to be around for Chloe, so I'd say that's a con, really, and we probably need to master that in order to retain people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say is a common misconception of someone who's trying to get in the industry? So when they try to get into the industry, they come into the industry brand new. What do they think it is that it actually isn't?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tricky one, that one. Yeah, that's a good one. G's prompting me in the background. Thanks, G. That's a good one. Thanks. I can't even lie if someone's helping me. So design. G said design. And so, of course, I went to study lighting design.
Right.
And it actually annoys me a little bit. I'm happy to talk about this a bit more, actually. So I studied lighting design, and nowadays it costs a fortune to go to university.
Yes.
I reckon they're leaving with about 50 or 60K's worth of debt.
Oh, and more.
Yeah.
And more.
So, and if you go to study, let's just say what I studied, which was lighting design, and you've paid 60-odd K to go.
I know where you're going with this one.
I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable for them to want to leave on that trajectory.
So
obviously, in the rooms that I sit in, certainly at the Make a Difference conference that I run, and the rooms that I sit in, the employment sector or the industry sector thinks that that's not the case. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Absolutely.
So basically, when you come out, there's this conception that they want to go into design, and what our current sector is saying is that no, of course you're not going to go straight into a lighting design role or a sound design role. You've got to mop floors, or I don't know, cut gel or whatever else. So I would say that is probably certainly in the university sector is a bit of a misconception, and it's sad. I don't know by the way, I don't know the answer to that. Do you know what I mean? Because it is probably a bit unrealistic to leave university and just become a designer. But
there's a trust thing there, isn't there? You know, people, if you've got a production company who's going to spend a certain amount of money, they're not going to spend a certain amount of money on somebody they've never heard of and they don't know. But then you have that problem of how can I get the experience if you're not going to give me the job, and how I'm not going to get the job if I don't have the experience.
It wasn't an option for me, Bram. When I very quickly learnt. I came from a very, very low socioeconomic background. Neither of my parents worked. I don't actually know how I went to university. I begged, stole and borrowed to get all the way through it. But back then, this was 2000 to 2003, you're not even a patch on what they charge now.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Like, absolutely not a patch on it. But I very quickly realised that there was no amount of me leaving to do design roles for free in order to build up a portfolio. There was no bank of mum and dad supporting me. So I hung up my then lighting stencil back at, that shows how old I am, and just said, right, I've just got to get on the back of a truck. Yeah. But it suited me anyway, so I quite enjoyed it.
Good. What advice can you give to anybody who's trying to get into the industry?
I still think it's a really people-orientated industry. So I've got to be careful what I say here because I do work at a university. I sincerely don't think it matters what route you do.
Yeah.
So, and I'm happy to just live by that and say that if you want to go to university, you can do that. That's a very acceptable way to get into it. I think if you want to do the apprentice thing, that's also a very acceptable way to get into it. I do actually still think if there's a way that you can just go in and somehow get yourself on a fit up or whatever and just work your way up.
Shadow, depth.
Yeah. It's harder to do that now because I think it's a bit more saturated with the apprenticeship networks and the university graduates. But I do still think that's an acceptable way to get into the sector.
Brilliant. That's everything I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hey, big thank you to Mig for that. Really enjoyed talking to Mig. It's fantastic that Mig has come on board and helped me. It was she who got in touch with me about helping with the podcast via the GSA. So fantastic. Thank you so much to Mig. If you want to get in touch with us, it is techtablepod@gmail.com, and all the social medias are techtablepod. So give us a search, give us a follow, send us a question, anything you want. We would love to hear from you. So thank you once again to Stage Electrics for this fantastic microphone. It sounds brilliant. And that's the end of the first episode. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we look forward to the next 9 episodes of this season. And so until then, I shall see you next week.